Alright guys, so time is now for a showdown between the Warriors of Chaos, who are going to be led by a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Death, top his mighty Chaos Dragon, and the Greenskins, who are going to be led by Azag the Slaughterer. So this video is actually going to be a 2-for-1, so I ran into this guy twice on ladder, and we had some really good games. So there's actually going to be 2 games in total here. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this first one. So as far as the army goes, in the front line, it's going to be mostly Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and obviously the Greenskins typically in this matchup are just going to be using Black Orcs across the board, and Black Orcs do beat down Chaos Warriors with great weapons pretty badly, but nonetheless, if you have the support of a Shaggoth, maybe some breath attacks from the Dragon or a Fate Abuna, I feel like you can somewhat normalize that situation. You can also go with Chosen with great weapons, they can do a pretty good job as well, but nonetheless, Azag is a somewhat common pick, and Fate Abuna is just so damn good against elite infantry, so both my opponent and I definitely have to worry about some hot Buna action. On the flanks, I have a couple groups of Chaos Marauders just to kind of get into the back line, deal with chaff, maybe go after Goblin Archers, the Rusty Heirs. And if they have a very heavy skirmishing core, like these Goblin Wolf Riders and, the Death's Creepers and what are those guys called? Morgrips Magi Marauders. You're going to be able to screen them out with these shields pretty efficiently. Couple groups of doggies as well. We have Chaos Warhounds with Poison here, some on the far side, which are going to be teamed up with some Chaos Knights with Lances. This is something I'm a little bit on the fence about in this matchup, but I just have so much fun using Chaos Knights. But nonetheless, there's a lot of lightly armored targets for them to charge in the back line, but yeah, they definitely don't do the most damage against Black Orcs. So part of me thinks it might be better just to go with like Dragon Ogres or something, but we're going to see how they do. The Demon Spew here, also not a bad choice, pretty good, pretty fast, getting around the back line. They also lower melee attack, so you can throw them into the front line. They'll lower the melee attack of Black Orcs. They can serve a multitude of different purposes, but really I don't think Forsaken, aside from them, are very good in this matchup, or that many matchups for the matter. So that's pretty much my whole army. For my opponent, he's got Goblin Wolf Riders. Looks like Goblin Wolf Rider Archers across the board, so that's going to be some annoying poke for sure. I mean, even though the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth does have 70 armor, that's still like a lot of volume of fire that he could potentially wear me down with. It's also going to keep me honest up on this Dragon, so he definitely has some good screening tools. He's got the Night Goblin Shaman with the missile attack, which you guys have been seeing quite a bit in the metagame and tournaments and whatnot. It's very, very powerful. Azag does have Spirit Leech and Fate Abuna, which is pretty standard. And I wonder if Azag could beat the Dragon. I mean, the Dragon's a lot more tanky, but he does have Poison, better melee attack, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe with the Wa, maybe. It's hard to say in like a straight up fight. I feel like the Dragon would probably win, but maybe we'll see. For my opponent's main army, he does have Black Orcs, a couple groups of Nasty Skulkers protecting the Rusty Errors. He has some Night Goblins, the Unbreakable ones. Pretty much a staple in a lot of different builds. Regardless of the matchup, it's really nice to have unbreakable poison-causing units in the front line, so I really like those guys quite a bit. Of course, Goblin Spider Riders to muck down Shaggoths, just kind of protect things. He's got some big uns in the back to deal with Shaggoths and Dragon Ogres, and he does also have an Orc Boar Chariot, so very, very cool army for my opponent. So guys, let's get the show on the road. So right now I'm going to be advancing. The Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons going to be pushing. Marauders pushing in, trying to absorb the initial shock damage here. And you can see it's actually working. The Chaos Marauders are going to be taking those arrows on the shield instead of having it go on more high value targets like my Shaggoth or the Sorcerer, but it looks like my opponent's going to be kind of reorganizing his army up and around the front. In the meantime, Azag's going to be cackling in the distance against a very scenic backdrop. Look at that. You got these like big snowy mountains, and what's going on over there? Some sort of warp magic. Some sort of foul treachery. Anyways, the Goblins are going to be scooting up. I now see them for the first time. It looks like he's going to be repositioning his archers here. And yeah, I was definitely a little bit, felt a little bit overwhelmed by kind of the sheer numbers. And it looks like in total he has Black Orcs. How many does he have in total? I think 3. So 3 Black Orcs is definitely going to be quite a bit of stopping power. The Rusty Heirs in the back, I think, are going to be the only true missile unit, but nonetheless, Rusty Heirs can synergize well with Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. I do get a fat breath attack, so the Chaos Dragon's able to only roast 2 Orcs, but it does some really good HP damage. So far, the Dragon Gambit paying off. Kolek is what I usually go with, but of course Kolek is very susceptible to being focused on himself. So is a Dragon. So Fate Abuna going down in the other group of Black Orcs. On the flank, it looks like he did Abuna on my Chaos Knight, so those guys got messed up pretty damn bad. I think he definitely came out ahead there. They're much more expensive. And it looks like the Orc Chariots are going to be charging into the front, but I do pull the Shaggoth in to kind of intercept those guys, so they might pull back at the last second, and it looks like they do, but it does kind of break the charge of my Chaos Warriors a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit awkward into these Black Orcs. And the Wa has been popped, so the front line engagement's underway, and it does look like I missed the charge because of the Chariots. But the Big Daddy Dragon's going to be jumping in here, and he definitely hits very hard, has massive armor piercing, so just trying to wreck these Black Orcs real quick and break through. And it looks like we're doing some okay damage. You can see they're getting chipped down pretty quick, but the focus fire from the Rusty Heirs is actually going to force back my Dragon, and it looks like some of the Skulkers are going to come up and smoke bomb. Missile attack coming in from the Goblin Shaman does a little bit of damage, nothing that devastating, but Azag does get a really nice jump over here. He's able to break down the Marauders, terror out them, and the Goblins are then going to get a rear charge into my Demon Spew, so I figured, hey, Chaos Knights and Demon Spew could easily break through these big uns, but the rear charge from the Gobos is going to be really bad, actually. So suddenly, my Demon Spew and Chaos Knights, and the problem with Chaos Knights with Lances is they're more of a shock unit, so if they get like surrounded like this, they're really not going to be that efficient, whereas the other variant does have better sustained combat stats. So A little bit of a standing off up in the skies here. You can see the Chaos Sorcerer with Death. It's just going to be kind of a, kind of following around Azag. I'm just kind of waiting for him to make a move so I can counter him. I'm going to be chasing in here with the Dragon. He does engage the Hounds, and the Hounds actually got a really good engagement here on the Shaman. So we were able to break the Shaman almost. It looks like it's shaken. It's very, very close to breaking, but the Spider Riders and other troops are going to sweep in here and be able to finish me off. Hounds in the meantime trying to sweep up and around, so just trying everything I can to get into the Rusty Airs. The Shaggoth fighting pretty hard down here, but really the name of the game is the Chaos Warriors, not being able to kind of hold up against these Black Orcs and Rusty Airs. The Shaggoth is doing a pretty good job. I definitely would have liked to have Lord of the Storm and Kolek kind of helping out here, and they're very, very low, so I mean, we've definitely done quite a bit of damage to one another, but it's a really quick game, and the Greenskin versus Chaos matchup is usually very, very quick one way or the other. Over here, the Chaos Warhounds at the back do get into the Rusty Airs and some of these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, which is a very good engagement. And I also get a nice little downhill charge coming in from the Chaos Knights, able to punt some of these filthy Goblins and get a ton of kills on the charge. And the Demon Spew still going. They got 54 kills. They're able to mulch through a lot of the Biggins, as well as those Night Goblins up on the high ground. For my Dragon, in the meantime, I'm going to be using to fend off the Chariot. But if you look here, things in the battle weren't going terribly in many respects, right? Like, we were getting relatively good trades with the Dragon and the Shaggoth and some of those other troops, but my middle just got pounded, like absolutely destroyed. Those Chaos Warriors really were not up to snuff, so I was really surprised at how quickly they got cut down. Now, typically my build against Greenskins is to use a Kolek plus a second Shaggoth, and Kolek really helps you win the front line. He's able to beat down the Black Orcs pretty bad. Lord of the Storm is very good in conjunction with some supporting death magic, but I felt like without having Kolek in the front line against the Black Orcs, I might have had needed to go a little bit more elite or just change the tactics altogether. For example, using Trolls. I could use some armored Trolls and just kind of club the Black Orcs down, but yeah, with this particular build, it just did not seem terribly efficient. The Dragon did okay. The breath attacks were decent, but I felt like a lot of the time, like, Azag was able to outmaneuver him, and I really wasn't able to get the best value. I mean, Azag has been hiding for a lot of the battle, but he's still gotten some good terror routes and whatnot. So here, we're trying our best to rally these troops. The Marauders and company are fighting Black Orcs. We do drop a Spirit Leech because we don't have the Winds of Magic for anything else. And the Shaggoth and the Dragon are doing a good job, but there's a lot of missiles left here, guys. You can see Biggins coming in, who all have anti-large. Aside from that, I mean, most of the stuff's pretty tattered, and I have a couple Chaos Warriors coming back in, but yeah, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot against the Black Orcs. Black Orcs really were the name of the game here. So the Biggins piling in here, they're going to be attacking the Shaggoth and the Dragon, and right now I'm like, okay, maybe I can get some sort of a burst of damage on Azag, get a little bit of an attack there, maybe some terror routing on some of these Goblins, but yeah, the Shaggoth kind of trapped behind the Dragon. There's just too many troops at this point. He has too many missiles, he has nasty Skulkers for smoke bomb effects, and that's going to be all she wrote. So very solid play from my opponent. It was a very fun game. I tried something a little bit different using the Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Death. I wanted to see how he would work out, against a solid player, and I mean, I think he has potential. The breath attacks were decent, but I really just feel like Kolek would be the better pick. So I'd probably, in retrospect, maybe cut the Dragon, obviously. I would get Kolek, I would get a Deathcaster. I might still get the Chaos Warriors with Great Opens, because I think with Kolek supporting them, they would be able to win the frontline engagement. I'd probably cut the Demon Spew. I really didn't like their performance. I would cut the Chaos Knights with Lances and just maybe get the Summoners of Rage, and also get a couple Armored Trolls. I feel like that would actually not be bad at all, just kind of beating down the Black Orcs, because that frontline engagement, like, the flanks were okay. We had some decent trades. We were able to do some damage. The Hounds got a little bit of work in, but for the most part, he countered them really well. But I just felt like the Chaos Knights plus the Chaos Sorcerer Lord were just a massive wasted investment that really didn't pay for themselves at all. I mean, 45 kills is pretty atrocious for sure on those guys. But yeah, my opponent played really well. He had a solid build. Black Orcs, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff, right? Like, Black Orcs, some Missile Play, some Force Goblin Spider Riders to muck things down. And Azag is really good. Death Magic is super good against Chaos in general, right? Because they have so many expensive units that you can really get value from. So yeah, it was a really good Greenskin build. I think my build just wasn't up to snuff. On top of that, he played really well, so it was tough all across the board. But the Chaos Warriors just did not pay for themselves. They got pounded by those Black Orcs. I would probably still keep the Marauders on the flanks just to get around and give you some more numbers against Goblins and just have shields against skirmishing. But yeah, I'd really cut that. I would probably go back to Kolek and maybe get cut these guys and get like the Summoners of Rage or something, because they have really good AP in the front line as well, and I think could have been pretty good. So again, very well played to my opponent, Hubert J. Farnsworth. And like I said, this is a 2-for-1. We had a couple games against one another, and the next one is going to be a showdown between the Vampire Coast and the Tomb King. So let's go ahead and jump over to that second game. All right, guys, so now we're here with the second game, which is going to feature a showdown between the Vampire Coast and the Tomb Kings. So as far as my build goes, it's going to be a very cannon-heavy build. Well, I guess I should say Colossus-heavy. I mean, although they do shoot cannons, right, so it technically counts. But I do have the double Necrofex Colossus, which are very good against Tomb Kings. So Tomb Kings typically are going to use Tomb Scorpions and Ushapti Great Bows. And really, the Colossus are just, in a way, a bit of a counter to both of those units. So they have better range than the Ushapti Great Bows. They have amazing armor piercing, and they also have enough AP in their missile attacks to really pound down these Tomb Scorpions here. So I like that quite a bit. They have good armor piercing in melee, so if they do have to fight constructs in melee, they're not pushovers. I feel like the double Colossus is just a very, very strong pick. However, they do also take a ton of damage from Ushapti Great Bow, so it's not like a one-sided advantage. It can go both ways. So we got Count Noctilus and a Colossus here. They're ready to party. For the front line, we have a bunch of Zombie Pirate Deckhand Maps to fight skeletons. But really another staple in this matchup is going to be the Depth Guard. So Depth Guard are so damn good at killing chaff. They annihilate Tomb Guard with halberds. They'll just cut through any Tomb King's infantry. So I think bringing at least 2 of those guys is pretty much a must. We have the black spot here. Black spot is also quite good. Great armor piercing, anti-large and melee and armor piercing. Basically kind of like the beast slayers of Bastion with guns, which I like quite a bit. In the back, we got zombie powered deckhand mobs with pole arms. We got one cannon up here on the high ground, which is going to be shooting the constructs, and a couple groups of supporting halberds on the flanks. And yeah, we don't have any deck droppers or anything like that. Most players are pretty privy to the tactics of the Vampire Coast now, and my opponent, obviously a very high level player here. He has the Carrion, and they would pretty much hard counter any deck dropper play. So it's better just not to bring them against like any matchup that can bring like Harpies or Carrion or Felbats or anything like that, in my opinion. For the rest of his army, he does have skeleton warriors in the front line, so pretty chaffy, but he does also have two tomb scorpions. So it's very much it's a very interesting match here because my opponent has hard counters to my depth guard. I have good counters to his tomb scorpions. He has good counters to my colossus. It's like back and forth, right? We both have answers to everything that the other person brought. So the tomb scorpions here are going to be really good against depth guard if they can survive the initial pounding and eventually get through to them. The Ushopti Grapos can do some pretty good damage as well. So if I focus down the tomb scorpions, it's a bit of a pickle, right? The Ushopti Grapos are going to focus me down, so I really have to kind of decide where I want to allocate my resources. Top of that, he's got 3 Ushopti Grapo in the back. I think no Chosen of the Gods. Yeah, Chosen of the Gods have a little bit more spray fire. I think these ones are better at focus fire. He does have a Netcaster, or a Netcaster, a Lich, I might as well call it that, right? A Lich Priest with the Nets of Amnitok, so he's going to be probably locking down my Colossus, trying to kill him. On top of that, he does have the Missile Attacks. Missile Attacks very good against Colossus. And he has High Queen Kalita, so it looks like he's going for the Blessing of Soft to really snipe my Colossus. So he's probably going to be sitting her near these guys. And if we look at Kalita here, he does have the, or she has the Blessing of Asaf, which gives missile damage, reload skill. I mean, it gives some pretty juicy stats. On top of that, he has a couple chariots probably to run down depth guard and zombies and just give him some extra punching power. That's pretty much it. I should also mention I do have 2 Scurvy Dogs, which I just always bring to deal with skeleton archers or Ushopti, or at least harass a little bit. So the main fighting's underway. You can see the Carrion are going to be swooping in to attack my cannons, which is pretty standard, just shutting them down while he advances. So the Carrion swoop in there. These zombie powered deckhand mobs are going to fight them. The depth guard, more importantly, are going to kill them very quick because Carrion are indeed infantry sized. My dogs are going to be getting around the back, and it looks like the Carrion are also going to be swarming on my Colossus, which is a really good tactic. I hadn't thought of that. I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. And people don't usually do that, but they're going to kind of pin me down. Ushopti Grapo is generating massive value against Noctilus. The damage hasn't come in yet, but it's going to start adding up here now that they're shooting. I got some really good freebies here on the Tomb Scorpion, was able to kind of poke those guys, and I do have some dogs going up and around the back, but my opponent does have nets, so he could potentially net me down and kind of stop that play. So Count Noctilus is going to be falling back behind the hill away from the Ushopti Grapo fire, and I'm just basically using summons to kind of deal with the Carrion. So I did drop the Wrath's Moondial to summon some zombos there, and they're going to be attacking the Carrion. Now in the mainline fighting, the Depth Guard are going to be surging forward. Chariot's doing some okay work, but they're getting beat up themselves. Tomb Scorpion is also in here fighting, so a lot of scary stuff going on. The Black Spot is going to be turning in a moment and lining up their sights on this Tomb Scorpion. But in the back, I'm able to get a really good trade. So the doggies do get onto the Ushopti Grapos. Now, it's not going to kill them, but at the very least, it'll probably keep them busy for like 20-30 seconds and mitigate a lot of their firepower. So Count Noctilus is able to get his Arcane Conduit up. The other Necrofex Colossus taking a lot of focus fire, but basically just kind of weathering the storm, trying to get rid of the Carrion and the harassing elements. My opponent's going to be charging up the hill with the Skeleton Warriors, but I have the Depth Guard here who should be able to deal with them. Now, the mainline fighting's a little bit messy. His skeletons here are pushing through. The Chariot play has been very, very solid, but the Tomb Scorpions are taking a little bit of damage as well from the Necrofex Colossus play, and the Depth Guard here are mulching a lot of the skeletons, so a lot of the supporting elements that were here before are having to fall back, which is quite good. So piling in with halberds now. In the back, the double Colossus squad is here, and the reason I brought them together is to get Invocation of Nehek and heal them up, but my opponent's Carrion just kind of sticking on me. My cannon, in the meantime, is continuing to shoot in, so the cannon has been really good. He just now noticed it seems. So the cannon is going to be shooting downtown and taking out the Ushopti Grapos, potentially taking them out pretty quick, but it looks like my opponent is going to be focus firing them all with the Ushopti as well. But now we're starting to finally return fire. So the Colossus are back online, Invocation topping them off, and the Carronades are going to be shooting downtown at the Ushopti Grapos. These two undead factions refusing to retreat, which is, undead factions are very strong for that reason, right? None of their units are going to retreat, and it's just always going to be fighting, right? So, Halberds in the front, finally getting in and fighting some of the Tomb Scorpions, so the Halberds doing their job. Depth Guard back here dealing with chaff, so many aspects of the front line are actually starting to go in my favor, whereas before in the beginning they were a little bit rough with the Chariots, but Chariots taking some heavy fire from the Black Spot here, and they're pulling back and forth and trying to do everything they can. But I did notice he was kind of coming back into my kill box here. I thought he might try and just charge Noctilus as a disruption, kind of distraction. So I summoned some zombie-powered gunnery mobs back here, which are providing some really good firepower into these skeleton chariots. And nonetheless, what I'm going to be doing now is turning these zombie-powered gunnery mobs around to finish off the Carrion, who've just been a constant scourge this entire game. So missile attacks coming in from the Lightcaster didn't look like it made the best contact, and both of my Colossus are now online. Just going to be shooting downtown, going after the Ushopti, and you can see that Cannon Blast actually does finish off an Ushopti. In the meantime, my opponent with a really good rear charge, so he's really making good value out of this one Chariot, and yes, it doesn't have the most kills, but it's able to come back here and collapse a couple groups of zombies, and it's definitely paying its dues here. So the Black Spot in the meantime is going to be turning about face, finishing off the Chariots. I'm kind of tired of having this mobility just getting through my back line. So the black spot's able to finish those guys off. The gunnery mobs are able to finish off the carrion. Don't know why that was like a tongue twister right there. But anyways, both of the Necrophax Colossus are in pretty good shape. Looks like there might be a new Shopti summon coming down back here. I'm not sure. Some sort of witchcraft is afoot. And it looks like the Shopti are going to be put back here. And it's a little bit scary because, you know, I have to deal with these guys now. I can't really just sit and shoot happily. Invocation of the Heck is going down, but those Shopti Great Bows are just kind of melting a lot of my troops. However, in every other aspect of the battle, things are going pretty well. The Depth Guard are kind of pushing through here, and yes, they're fighting Tomb Scorpions now, which is going to be pretty rough. Khalida has really good AP as well, so the crazy Snake Lady is just going to be diving in here and doing some good work with the Tomb Scorpion, who's tail slapping these guys. But at the very least, we're kind of forcing him back, right? Both of the Tomb Scorpions are very beat up from the Carronade fire and the Halberds, and also the Black Spot has really been a saving grace because this entire game, like, Count Noctilus and my other big units in the back here have just been getting pounded and distracted and attacked with so many different things. But the Shopti are finally starting to kind of dissipate here, and Noctilus is going to be blowing his load right there and dropping some zombie fire deckhand mobs. We're going to be kind of holding these guys back. So suddenly it's looking like a relatively stable situation, but the focus fire is still coming in. Noctilus is getting low. I definitely need to fall back here, and here comes another missile attack from the Light Mage. 2400, and wow, that did like 500-600 damage. That was really good. So I'm going to be falling back, hopefully surviving here, but nonetheless, battle's very, very close. My zombies, believe it or not, have actually gotten into the back line, so they're going to be harassing, kind of poking Khalida, forcing the Shopti Great Bows back, which is going to give me a little bit of reprieve and allow me to fall back with Noctilus and maybe get some healing. Depth Guard are still chewing through Skeleton Warriors. The Black Spot just, doing Count Noctilus's glorious work here. He's able to shoot down these Tomb Scorpions, and, you know, there's not a lot of great targets for the Tomb Scorpions aside from the Depth Guards. That's not a bad thing. The other Colossus is going to be shooting the Lich Priest because I know those missile attacks are really starting to hurt, and I didn't really respect them initially, so that was kind of scary. We're going to be shooting in here, poking the Lich Priest and doing our thing. The Black Spot's going to be trying to shoot in as well, and my summoned gunnery mob also going to be getting into position, but another missile attack coming downtown, trying to hit Noctilus, but I did take cover behind this building here, so I was able to kind of obstruct that. I do get an Invocation of the Heck, and I will be coming back out here in a moment. So the summoned gunnery mob's going to be advancing. The Black Spot's still doing its thing. It looks like a net of Ammontok was dropped on the Black Spot for some reason. I'm not sure why he did that, but maybe just to kind of keep me from advancing and shooting these guys. But yeah, anyways, but I was able to pick off the caster. The Black Spot got a beautiful volley right there. And the Tomb Scorpions are getting poked down by the Halberds, but really, I mean, what do I have left here besides these like haggard Halberds kind of waddling about? My Depth Guard are gone. These Halberds are all kind of dissipating, so it's a very, very close fight here. The bounce power is still dead even, guys. Black Spot, I think, it could potentially be something that could save me. Problem is he still has all three groups of Shopti Great Bows. He can kind of kite me in circles a little bit. And Khalida's still pretty healthy. Noctilus is able to kind of stabilize a little bit. So he comes back, Arcane Conduit being popped. I believe I'll have one more Invocation of the Heck over the course of this whole battle. Yeah, the Black Spot still has a lot of ammunition. I've actually had them on fire, not auto fire, but fire on my command. So I've been able to really conserve my ammunition. I'm going to be switching and shooting in here to the Tomb Scorpions, who are very, very low. The other Colossus is going to be shooting in as well, going after this guy. And you can see that massive firepower coming in and just pounding out that Tomb Scorpion. So the Black Spot doing beautiful work here. The other Tomb Scorpion, just the scourge of the multiplayer for as far as the Tomb Kings go. These things are such a nightmare. It's still not dead. We finally get it there at the last second there with the Black Spot and some Overwatch fire. Noctilus is going to be coming out from back here, and we're just going to be unleashing all of our ammunition into the Shopti Great Bow. So for the first time in the battle, pulling ahead in the bounce of power. Over here, Khalida's trying her best, but really she can't really do well against like a bunch of Halberds. She still is large. There's a lot of numbers here, and the Black Spot is going to be turning and shooting at her in just a moment. And the problem for her is if she wants to fight the Black Spot, they're anti-large armor-piercing Halberds as well. So she's kind of in a bit of a pickle. If anything, Khalida probably wants to get like up and around the back and maybe sneak up on my Colossus. But yeah, the two Colossus are still in okay shape. The Shopti Great Bows have done great work, but thankfully I was able to penetrate the front line. So had I not had those Depth Guard, had I not got my Zombos into the back line and chase these guys a little bit, I probably would have lost Count Noctilus as he was trying to pull back there. But thankfully, the pressure from the zombies in the back line, which is something never here, was able to get back here and do some pretty good work. So the double Colossus firing squad's going in. I was able to get a huge Invocation of the Heck and heal both those guys up. Now we're going to be shooting downtown after the Shopti Great Bows. High Queen Khalida is trying to be a sneaky snake, but alas, she's been kind of pulled away from her elements that she's trying to support, and the Black Spot's just doing a great job against her. And even if she does come in here, she's going to get pound towned by double Colossus. Like, they're going to be able to take her out no problem. It looks like a Wraith Storm coming down from Count Noctilus. Obviously, you don't need line of sight for that, so the Wraith Storm's going to come down, and it might be able to finish her off. Let's look at her HP. So 1300, here it comes, and that's pretty good and tasty. That's going to trigger the game, or army losses, and that's going to be all she wrote. So well played to my opponent. Those were some very, very good games. The second one, obviously, much longer and much more competitive, but yeah, it was really fun. I mean, that was normally with Vampire Coast, as far as I would say, they're probably like the faction that I'm best at right now, but like I usually don't have much of a problem with Tomb Kings. Like the games are, relatively good with the double Colossus, but that build was like, actually Khalida wasn't bad at all. Like she was able to provide some AP in the front line. She's dirt cheap on top of that, so my opponent had a wider army than I was used to. Triple Shopti Great Bow is very, very scary against the Colossus, especially with the carry and harass. His carry and harass was super solid. He was able to poke me down, but alas, we were able to kind of stay diligent, finish off the carrion, and stabilize from there. Pull back, perpetually pull back Count Noxus, make sure that he was out of range of the Ushopti Great Bows. And the black spot was also really good. Depth Guard were able to chew through the front line, but the Chariots got a ton of kills. Look at that. That was pretty nuts. But yeah, it was just a very, very good back and forth game. So again, very well played in my opponent, Hubert J. Farnsworth. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that 2-for-1. And we will see you guys next time. Take care.